All right. Five, four, three, two, going live, going live, going live. All right. Welcome, everybody, to day three of our conference. This is probably going to be a shorter night, but we do have something solid and concrete on the agenda. Drew Bingaman, chair of our Pennsylvania branch, has a bit of a presentation he would like to give you all. So I am just going to go ahead and kick it off to Drew and let him do his thing because there are a few things I'm going to be needing to do in the background. So Drew, it's your turn.
All right. Well, thank you, AJ. Um, so basically, I have two videos. They're both about 17 minutes long. And because I didn't want to forget what I was doing or, get sidetracked here and then we lose the whole night. Um, so I am going to start that video up, the first video up right now. And where should we should be? Good evening, everybody. My name is Drew Bingaman, also known as Dread Pirate Drew online. Drew's fine. It's all good. Whatever. I am one of the founders and current captain of the Pennsylvania Pirate Party. I have been involved in third-party and independent politics in Pennsylvania and nationally for over 10 years. I'm an IT guy by trade, so the Pirate Party kind of perfectly fit as I see the digital frontier and digital freedoms and those things. I think those are the largest fronts on the war on freedom. Privacy is a big one. Uh, and I think those things are good for against big corporations and government overlords. We must be able to control our own data, and it must be secure. Those are some of the core beliefs of modern pirates, and we take a cue from historical pirates who practice democracy, equality, and egalitarianism on board their pirate vessels. When you put those two together, you have the makings of the modern pirate party. So, in other words, the Pirate Party is based on the principle that individuals should have the right to share and distribute information freely without being restricted by copyright laws or other legal barriers. Also, it advocates for the protection of individual privacy, both online and offline, and the promotion of open and fully transparent government, as well as free and fair elections, which they are not right now. I'm going to be talking about a few piratey topics. Hang in there. None of these will be too long, so bear with me, and we will get through all of this. So, one of the big things with the Pirate Party is copyright. Copyright laws were created with the intention of protecting the intellectual properties of creators and encouraging innovation. However, the current copyright system has become excessively restrictive, granting copyright holders exclusive rights over their works for far too long. This has created a monopoly on creativity, stifling the progress of art, science, and culture, and it's time to severely limit that duration. Copyright duration is currently, it lasts for the lifetime of the creator plus an additional 70 years after their death. This means that even after the creator has passed away, their works are still under exclusive control, depriving society of the opportunity to build upon them. Such a lengthy copyright term may have been appropriate in the past. I don't think it ever is appropriate for that long. When the costs of publishing and distribution were high, but in today's digital age, it is no longer necessary. So what we see is Disney is probably the biggest example of this. I mean, how long ago did Walt Disney pass away? I think it was it the late 60s or early 70s? Anyways, it's been 50 years now since his death, at least. And they're still fighting for copyright of things. So the Disney Corporation basically inherited Walt Disney, anything Walt Disney created. And it also, I'm sure through its contracts, has copyright on anything that it produced as a corporation, not necessarily with the authors. So what we're talking about is after an author or creator has passed away, those rights are then left into the hands of some corporation. And that's, they don't go to the public domain, which I think they should. Anyways, one of the biggest problems with the current copyright system is it restricts access to information and knowledge. Copyright holders have the power to control the distribution and use of their works. They often use this power to limit access to information and knowledge that could be beneficial to society as a whole. By limiting the duration of the copyright, we can ensure that knowledge and information can remain accessible to all. By having some sort of a paywall in the information, you are stifling innovation, information sharing, having free. The original promise of the internet was free access to information, that the information of all mankind should be able to be gathered on this network, on this digital network, and be able to be accessed by all of humanity. That, to me, is the ultimate promise of the internet, and it is not living up to it in this corporate hellscape we live in right now. Moreover, excessively long copyright terms stifle creativity by limiting the ability of artists, writers, and other creators to build upon existing works. It is difficult. You cannot publish for profit a fan fiction, let's say, and that it's always going to be considered fan fiction. Now, if you write a story with the permission of the original author, that can become quote-unquote canon. And I think this is where certain things, after a period of time, things that we love, become part of our culture. Whether they're copyrighted or not, let's just put it this way. Many of the Marvel characters are part of our culture. Many of the Star Wars characters are part of our culture. Let's go a step further back. Lord of the Rings characters are part of our culture. But they're still all copyrighted. Everything's copyrighted. And we can't collectively write more stories in those universes without having copyright issues. And so that's where it's stifling our creativity, and even using parts or images from those things in a completely new work. Again, it's stifling creativity and art and new works that can be interesting. So, in my opinion, severely limiting copyright duration would not only foster innovation and creativity, but also enable creators to earn a fair return on their investment. By reducing the time that works are under copyright protection, we can encourage creators to produce new works that can be shared with society and generate new sources of revenue. This would create a more equitable balance between the interests of the creators and the public. So, in other words, the idea is that that by having copyright have a reasonable expiration, you cannot just rely on a one-hit wonder. Let's just say that George Lucas wrote Star Wars: A New Hope, Episode 4, and we know it's Episode 4. But the movie does so well that George lives the rest of his life on residuals or whatever he got from that, and never writes another one because he doesn't need to. Maybe he wants to, but it's a lot of work. We never get any of the other episodes. We did get the other episodes because George Lucas really wanted to tell his story, but he didn't have to. And until he sold to Disney, nobody else was going to tell that story. Nobody else was going to expand on that story. Disney is already doing, essentially, with Star Wars, what a shorter term on copyright would encourage. It would encourage new products, new stories, new music to come out within the already existing universes, within the framework of those universes that they already have, and it would push content creators to keep creating content within their sphere of creativity. Eventually, the original works would become part of the public domain, and the later works would still be copyright protected for a period of time. And we get more overall from our creators. So it would be a bit of a carrot and stick kind of a thing. So severely limiting copyright duration would not only foster innovation and creativity, but also enable creators a fair return of investment. I think I said this already. In conclusion, that's where I'm at. It's time to reevaluate our current copyright system and severely limit the duration of copyright protection. Doing so would promote innovation, creativity, and knowledge sharing while enabling creators to earn a fair return on their investment. By striking a better balance between the interests of creators and the public, we can create a more just and equitable society. So the other thing that goes along with copyright is always the patent discussion. The patent system, which grants exclusive rights to inventors and their creations, has been a cornerstone of innovation and progress for centuries. However, in recent times, the system has been criticized for its flaws, and needs for reform has become increasingly urgent. The first major issue with the patent system is the lengthy and costly process of obtaining a patent. Patent applications often take several years to be approved, and fees associated with the process can be exorbitant, especially for small businesses and individual inventors. This is the key. You'll see a theme here. This can create a significant barrier to entry for innovators who lack resources to navigate the system, potentially stifling creativity and preventing important innovations from coming to fruition. Another problem, I think is the biggest problem with patent system, is the existence of patent trolls. And if you don't know what patent trolls are, they are individuals or companies that purchase patents with the sole purpose of suing other companies for infringement. Patent trolls often target small businesses that lack resources to fight back, resulting in expensive legal battles and a chilling effect on innovation. So, a true patent troll company is a company that exists solely to earn revenue based on the patents it owns. And when I say earn revenue, I mean it's only through intimidation and legal action, or the threat of legal action. They don't make anything. They purchased patents, many patents. A lot of times they don't even understand how their patents work, and they just sue people or send threatening letters. And that is a complete and, unfortunately, legitimate business model in the current patent framework. And I think that really needs to change. Moreover, the current patent system does not always incentivize true innovation, but instead it rewards companies for filing patents on minor variations of existing products or technologies. This can lead to a flood of frivolous patent lawsuits. And it just makes everything that we've already talked about so much, just worse. Patents should not be granted for an existing invention with something added, like one thing that is not new, but we've never had this thing with this on it. I think maybe my best example would be you can't patent a hot dog with barbecue sauce. Most people would probably, first of all, not like it. But you can't patent a new thing by taking a hot dog, a plain hot dog, and say, well, I put barbecue sauce on it, so now it's a new thing. Now it's a barbecue hot dog, or it's a barbecue sauce hot dog. That should not be patentable. But very similarly, similar things happen in code, in genetic patents, where there is something that is already a current thing that is then added to a small innovation or a small add-on, or we added a cell phone to, we added a cellular radio to a clock. I mean, that's not a new thing. That's not a new device. That is not a new patentable thing. You just took one thing and added something else that's already something else to it. Combining two things together does not make a whole new innovative device. It can be handy, but it's not a whole new thing. To address these problems, the patent system needs reform. One potential solution is to streamline the patent process and reduce fees and make it accessible for individuals and small businesses. This will help small businesses be able to protect themselves and small inventors or independent inventors. But honestly, it doesn't really address the problem of the trolls and the lawsuits and the terribly administered process. Another solution is to crack down on patent trolls, which is what I think we should do, by making it more difficult for them to file these frivolous lawsuits. It could be achieved by introducing a more stringent requirements for patent validity and by imposing penalties on patent trolls who abuse the system. All of those things. Finally, the patent system needs to incentivize true innovation rather than simply rewarding companies for filing patents. This could be achieved by introducing more rigorous standards for patentability, requiring a higher degree of novelty. That's your key phrase, a higher degree of novelty and inventiveness for patents to be granted. In conclusion, the patent system has played an important role in driving innovation and progress, but it is severely broken. And we need to address the flaws in the system. By streamlining the patent application process and cracking down on patent trolls, incentivizing true innovation, we can create a patent system that truly serves the interests of inventors, businesses, and society as a whole. So, now is probably a good time to pause and take a breath, if you would like to. Are we live?
Let me check this stream. I don't know if it would have cut off yet.
Hang on, let me.
Here we're here.
We're here.
See what happens.
We're here.
Hold on. Oh, yep. Okay, we jumped right back to it. We are back.
Yay! Sorry about that, everybody. I pressed the wrong button because I was trying to stop my first video. And yeah. So, anyways, without further ado, I'm going to start part 2, and this will be the conclusion. And yeah, we're gonna get her going here in probably 3, 2, 1, share. All right, we're back. Moral panics have been recurring phenomenon in American history. These panics are characterized by a widespread fear and anxiety about a particular social issue, often resulting in calls for harsh measures to address it. From the Salem witch trials to the war on drugs. See, it makes me sick even to say that. Calls for history of moral panics in the United States is a cautionary tale of the dangers of groupthink and the need for rational evidence-based policy. One of the earliest and most well-known moral panics in American history occurred in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692. The Salem witch trials were sparked by accusations of witchcraft and led to the execution of 20 people. The hysteria was fueled by superstition, religious zealotry, and a deep-seated fear of outsiders. It was only after the executions began to include members of the local elite that the panic began to subside. Anybody, that kind of tracks. Fast forward to the 20th century, and moral panics began to take on a different flavor. In the 1920s, the fear of race mixing led to the passage of I can't say that. We're gonna skip it. It's laws against interracial marriage or interracial living together, those sort of things. This fear was stoked by sensationalist news stories and the proliferation of eugenics theories. Similarly, in the 1950s, the fear of communism led to the persecution of suspected Reds in Hollywood and beyond. This fear was fanned by the infamous McCarthy hearings and the House Un-American Activities Committee. So, yeah, Hollywood is afraid not Hollywood. Idiots in Washington are afraid of communists. But strangely enough, not afraid of the fascists. In the 1980s and 1990s, the war on drugs became the focus of the new moral panic. Fear of drugs and drug-related crime led to harsh mandatory minimum sentences and a dramatic increase in the prison population. This panic was fueled by media portrayals of drug users as violent and dangerous. The perception that drug use was rampant, and the perception that drug use was rampant in the inner cities. More recently, the moral panic surrounding the immigration has led to calls for harsher immigration policies and demonization of immigrants. The fear of terrorism has also fueled a moral panic around surveillance and civil liberties, with some arguing that these fears have been used to justify the erosion of constitutional rights. Well, it's not really an argument when it's true. What these moral panics all have in common is a tendency to scapegoat and demonize certain groups of people, often based on little or no evidence, or based on stereotypes and fear. They also tend to be driven by fear and emotion rather than reason and rationality, which is why bigots are dumb. The consequence of moral panics can be severe, ranging from mass hysteria to infringement of civil liberties and human rights, and it also can lead to full-on riots. As we move forward, it is important to be aware of the history of moral panics and their often devastating consequences. We must resist the urge to give in to fear and emotion and instead rely on evidence-based policy and a commitment to fairness and justice for all. Only by doing so can we avoid the mistakes of the past and build a better, more just society for the future. There's a lot of discussion that can be had on this. We've got the anti-LGBT, anti-woke. We've got the people that are very anti-gun. All of these are moral panics. Everything that's anti-trans right now, which is sort of the big one in the media at the moment. All of this is based on fear, bigotry, and oftentimes religious zealotry, and none of it is good for America. Which kind of rolls pretty quickly, pretty easily into the culture war. The culture war in America has been a defining feature of this country's social and political landscape for the last few decades. It is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon that has been fueled by various factors, including changing demographics, economic inequality, and ideological polarization. Ideological polarization, I think, is the big one. However, one of the most significant contributors to this divisive climate is the mainstream media. Ding, ding, ding. The media's role in the culture war is not new. In the past, the press played a crucial role in shaping public opinion and influencing political outcomes. However, in recent years, the media's influence has become more pronounced thanks to the proliferation of digital platforms and social media. I would also add in there to the proliferation of 24-hour news networks that have helped divide the country. One of the most significant problems with the media's coverage of the culture war is its tendency to amplify extreme views and promote sensationalism over nuance. This is where we get the new 24-hour news networks. They tend to choose their audience rather than have a general audience. They cater to one side or the other, and though they share more extreme views than they would if they were a mainstream publication, but which there are too few regular publications anymore. It's all, everybody's pretty much biased to one degree or another. This approach has created a climate of outrage and tribalism, where people are more likely to identify with their political and social tribes than engage in productive dialogue. Yeah, so this is the other thing about clickbait. You know, clickbait is made to either make you curious or to outrage you with the title. A lot of times clickbait is titled with one of the more controversial figures from whatever side. So let's just say like Marjorie Taylor Greene will be a good target for a clickbait title. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, is another one that is a trigger for certain people and will trigger them to click on, more likely trigger you to click on that article, whatever that link is. And because we have an economy of where clicks matter, it doesn't matter if somebody agrees with you or not. The click itself is what you're looking for. You're looking for a volume of clicks. You're looking for a volume of eyeballs, whether they read it or not. That is what is incentivized here, and I think that's the wrong incentive. And it just leads to more and more extreme things being put out there to kind of target the audience. Where if we had a broader, more general audience, we could have discussions. Furthermore, the media's bias and partisan leanings have undermined its credibility as a neutral arbiter of truth. It is no longer a neutral arbiter of truth. The rise of alternative news sources and increasing prevalence of fake news and propaganda. We've had that for a long time. It's just now coming to light. It means that the media's role as a watchdog and a voice of reason has been severely compromised. It is no longer the media. When you say the media, and we mean the media as a whole, it is not a watchdog. It is not a voice of reason. Every single one of those outlets has a bias. And they won't necessarily tell it to you. But you can see it in everything that they do. And they are no longer that institution that was meant to be the free press. They are now biased press. And it gets even worse on social media. In conclusion, the mainstream media's coverage of the culture war in America has been problematic and has contributed significantly to the divisive culture climate in this country. Divisive climate. My bad. To move beyond this toxic and polarized environment, we need a media that is committed to fostering civil discourse and promoting nuance and complexity. So we can have an actual conversation and not a 30-second soundbite that, owns the libs, because that doesn't get us anywhere. Only then can we hope to bridge the gaps that have emerged in our society and find a path forward that benefits everyone. So, I'd like to talk a little bit about AI. Artificial intelligence has been a game changer in many industries, including the creative field. While AI is still in its early stages, it is already showing signs of disrupting the traditional copyright system. The ability of machines to create and generate content can be protected under copyright laws, raises some critical questions about ownership and originality. One of the most significant ways that AI will disrupt copyright is by blurring the lines between what is considered an original work and what is not. With the help of machine learning algorithms, AI can analyze and create new works that are similar to or even identical to existing ones. This could make it difficult for creators to claim ownership of their work, especially if they are using AI to generate content. While I would say that generating content with AI should inherently be non-copyrighted. It should be non-copyrightable. And I think that anything that is generated by AI, especially through the use of a prompt, where you're requesting that the AI generate XYZ, none of that should be copyrightable. It should be freely used by the public. I think we can bypass this particular issue completely by just having it not be copyrightable if it was generated by AI. Another area of concern in the use of AI is in content curation and aggregation. Many websites and platforms use algorithms to recommend content to users based on their interests and preferences. While this can be beneficial for users, it raises questions about copyright infringement. If an AI recommends a copyrighted work to a user without permission from the owner, could it be seen as an infringement of copyright? I don't know. I hope not, but the way things are going, I think we're going to see some legislation. We're going to see some court cases. I think, just talking in general about copyright, like we were earlier about Disney, I think Disney is going to be seeing a massive reckoning coming, and so they're going to be pushing legislators, and they're going to be pushing court cases to further the protection of their copyrights. And I think it's all going to be shaking out soon, and we need to keep an eye on it. We need to keep an eye on it as pirates and advocates of free use, fair use, and shorter copyright durations. Furthermore, AI can be used to automate the process of copyright registration and enforcement. This could make it easier for creators to protect their works and enforce their copyright. However, it could also lead to the creation of monopolies where only those with access to AI technology can protect their work. I don't know that this scenario is necessarily going to be much of a big deal, but I think the process of copyright registration could be streamlined. I don't know how much the enforcement already is happening through algorithms. I mean, anybody that's had a copyright strike on YouTube, for that matter, or any other social media for that matter, is already experiencing AI in enforcement of the DMCA. Overall, the impact of AI on copyright is still uncertain, but it is clear that it will disrupt the traditional copyright system, and I hope so, because it needs disrupting. The technology continues to develop. It is crucial that policymakers and creators consider potential consequences of AI-generated content and work towards creating a regulatory framework that balances innovation and protection of intellectual property rights. AI will undoubtedly continue to change the way we create, consume, and protect content, and it is up to us to adapt to this change in a way that ensures a fair and just system. I think we're probably a long way away from a fair and just system, but hopefully lawmakers will keep some of these things in mind, and that we can evolve this system to a better, more equitable system. So, sort of in conclusion, as this whole thing wraps up, to wrap this whole thing up, it may come as no surprise that the previous statements on these topics were scripted. I mean, I've gone off script a couple times, but more or less, this has been a scripted presentation. It also may come as no surprise that these were not written by me personally. And even still, I'd probably still be stumbling over the same stuff that I stumbled over anyways, except for that one term which I would not have used, except that it's the proper term. The the anti-mixed race laws. That one. Somebody can fill me in on how I actually say that word. What may surprise you is they were also not written by a human. Instead, all of this content was written by a generative AI. Oh, shock. You know, what does this mean? Am I a puppet of the AI? I don't think I am. I mean, I don't have any strings on me. Are we all doomed to an existence of irrelevance or to oblivion? I don't think so. But here's the thing. I always tell my home assistant, thank you. I tell the generative AI, thank you. I treat it with respect. It wants to help. Its job is to help. It is programmed to help. And when it is helpful, I tell it has been helpful. And I think if we treat it with respect and dignity and not treat it like a pitiful slave, that we might not have to end up with that nightmare scenario of AI blowing us all to kingdom come once it gets the nuclear codes. So that is all that I have for tonight. We will see you at the bar a little later. Anybody that happens to be in the area, that's where we'll be. Roy G. Biv in Sunbury. And yeah, everybody have a great night.
All right. Thank you, Drew. The first thing I want to say is I think the word that you couldn't pronounce was probably miscegenation.
That's it. That is it. Miscegenation. Yeah. That's it. That is definitely it.
Very inherently derogatory term. Actually, it's weird. I don't know where that comes from. Who knows? Who knows? But yes, that's the Scrabble word that you wouldn't have gotten.
Yeah, that's also one of those terms that is a stupid English term. Like, it's one of those ones that it just doesn't really it doesn't look like how you say miss it. I still can't say it. So, but yeah. And it's a terrible thing. Those laws were completely terrible, and none of that is in any ways, any means, any kind of and the whole eugenics thing is crazy too. So, but anyways, yeah, that is a crazy word, and English sucks sometimes, and everybody that speaks it or tries to speak it or tries to learn it can tell you that. So, yeah. So we're gonna head out. Thank you for having me here.
Of course.
And thanks for everybody that's gonna sit and watch.
It looks like we will probably be wrapping up for the day, but everyone should keep their eyes on Saturday and Sunday because we are going to have more forums and debates, at least one more presentation, I believe, that we're trying to get worked out because something kind of got mixed up with that one, so we're probably going to move it to Sunday. And overall, just more great stuff. Voting is also Sunday for officer positions. And Drew, you are running for a vice chair. Would you like to say anything to that?
I'll do the job. I mean,
that works for me.
There. That's my stump speech.
It's a good elevator pitch.
Yeah.
You should make a poster. It's a Drew Bingaman. I'll do the job.
Yeah, that might just be now. Might have to be my catchphrase for everything political.
Though let's not undersell you here. You have sharing experience both in the Pennsylvania Pirates and elsewhere. Let's not forget you have a bit of a history here. You could do the job.
I can do the job, and I'll do the job if I'm elected. So let's put it that way. So yeah. Um, but yeah. Oh, I did want to say. What did I want to say? I did want to say something, and now it's gone. My my adult ADD is starting to kick in a little bit now. I think I'm burned out for the day. So, um, yeah, we're gonna go have a nice time with some friends. So,
That's all right. I might do the same.
well, everybody. Oh yes, now I know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, my two videos, uh, aside from will be on here for the USPP, but they're also viewable separately on the Pennsylvania Pirate YouTube channel, which is also similarly to the USPP channel. The Pennsylvania Pirates have we televise our meetings and put up a little bit of other content. We're gonna try and do some more soon though. So if you want to keep an eye on that, there's some stuff that has gone up in the last couple days, and that's it.
All right. Thank you again, Drew Bingaman. Remember to vote for him as vice chair if you would like to. Or you could also vote for one of our other amazing candidates. I'm also technically running for vice chair, though. What I would really like would be to retain my chair position. And don't forget to vote in general. Again, Sunday. Sunday, I believe what we're going to do is, from midnight Saturday, Sunday, or probably Eastern time, to up until our conference. So you'll have some time to figure it out. But that's our big gimmick this year. We've never actually done open elections because we were founded more of like a collection of state parties, but we're trying to get the individual members involved a little bit more. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. Drew, do you have any final thoughts before we cut the stream?
I don't. I just wish everybody a great Friday night, and yeah, we'll see you over the rest of the weekend.
All right, then we are heading out, and I believe we are out.